Hello everyone, thanks for joining today. We're going to be talking about some of the new content and features that is going into Miscreated. Some of them are very close to being put into the game, and others will be in, maybe the following patch or two. So we'll be showing some stuff that is very close, like I mentioned. Other stuff will be coming on, relatively soon. But I want to give everybody an idea of what we're doing. So to start off with, I want to mention some of our social media sites. This is our wiki page. If you go to miscreated.wikia.com, then this was actually started by some fans a while ago. Jen, our community manager, is sort of taken over the wiki page now, and it's definitely a work in progress. But we want to let people know that it is there, and most of the content is up to date, I believe, on it, but we're currently working on getting this all up to date. So this is a good source to go to if you want to check to see what's going on in the game. As far as most of the crafting recipes are there, description of the items and so forth. So definitely look at the wiki page if you have any questions, especially if you're kind of new to the game. That will be a good place to go. And I'd encourage everyone to also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. I send out Twitter updates usually, every couple of days. A lot of times I'll send out a Twitter update with little minor things that are going on, something that doesn't really warrant a post a lot of times on the forums. So that's just a good way to kind of get little tidbits of information about the game. And then also we have our official forums at miscreatedgame.com. For those of you that actually want to sign up and join the forums, there's a lot of people that are on the forums currently. So yeah, definitely to follow the game, Twitter, Facebook. There's a Reddit page as well. A lot of people don't use Reddit on our team, but the Reddit page is there if you are a fan of Reddit instead. Steam discussion forums and our game forums are kind of the big ones. So those are all good places to kind of follow up on information. As far as the wiki page, people can edit the sub pages, I believe. Jen can correct me if I'm wrong. She's in the Twitch chat. So if you want to add content or update content, please do so. Everyone's expected, not expected, but everybody can do that as well to help out. All right, so I want to kind of jump into some of the new content here and kind of show what we're working on. There's a few different categories that we're working on. And as a disclaimer, let's see, there we go. As a disclaimer, I am running everything in the editor, the CryEngine editor, and this is our kind of a test level that we use for testing a lot of kind of the functionality of weapons and stuff in the game. So yeah, be aware this is running the editor, so hopefully we won't have very many issues because of that. And like I said, it's a pretty boring looking level because it's made just to test items and so on. So I won't be showing anything from the actual map today, the islands map. But anyway, so I have this little water volume here. So we're working on a couple of new vehicles for the game. One of them you can see on the screen there is a fishing boat. And this will probably be going in the next patch, I'm expecting, because it's really close to being fully functional already. So let me kind of show you here. We do add animations for a lot of stuff, so sound effects are in as well. So you can actually see that he's steering the boat. So you can see the motors moving and everything as he's turning. It does cause the wake if you look down on the water as the boat's moving around as well. There's a few other things we'll probably improve on it over time, but this is kind of a good first pass for us to get the boat in. And the boat is set to hold the driver and 3 passengers. So you'll definitely be able to take some of your friends along and go on a little boat ride. I'm going to try to pay attention to chat as well. So if you have any questions, post in chat. I know there are several developers in there. But if you put the word miscreated in your message, then it shows up as red for me, so it's very easy for me to pick those out. So that's the first vehicle, and like I said, I expect that'll be in our next patch. It's pretty much there already. We just need to do some adjustments and kind of little tweaks on the speed and handling and a few things, but it's pretty much done. And then a lot of you have seen this one on the map, and this is actually a stock SDK asset that comes with CryEngine, but we're modifying it to be drivable. This one is requiring a little bit more work. It's going to be a little bit longer to get into the game and running. Somebody's saying reload button. I'm not quite sure what you're saying reload button for, so I apologize. I don't know if something's wrong with the stream or not, but anyway, it's looking fine in the preview window. Anyway, so the tractor is something we're currently working on, and this will probably be what we're doing is going back in and redoing all the textures. I'll show you in a minute. We just barely started on the texture. I think Carl, if you know who Carl is on the team, he started on the textures yesterday on it. I believe it was yesterday, so they're very new on getting started. So we're redoing all the textures. But this gives you a general idea, but this will be a drivable vehicle. Not sure yet on the number of passengers. There will definitely be a driver, and I don't know if we can put one more on here or not, but we'll see. It might only be a single passenger, but we were joking about putting somebody on the roof, but I don't know. So we'll see, but the tractor is definitely one that will be coming in soon as well. So those are the two vehicles we're currently working on, is the boat and the tractor. In fact, let me show you. Carl sent me an image of what he's been working on here. Let me go back to my web browser window. And I think it's this window. There we go. So this shows you, the image on the left is the stock textures, and the image on the right is Carl started working on it. So if you look at the wheel, you can see the wheel has the most change. I think that's pretty much all he's changed. I know he's touching up the engine a little bit as well, but you can definitely see the difference on the wheel as he's going through and starting to improve the textures on it all. So before we get in the game, we'll definitely do a full pass on all those textures and make it look a little bit better. So this is what Carl's currently working on. And I don't know if Carl's going to stream the work. He's welcome to stream the work on Twitch. He likes to stream, so definitely go ahead and stream Carl if you want as you're working on the textures for this. And I want to talk a little bit about animations next. So those are the two vehicles. Then for animations, if you're used to Spiker, you'll notice, if you play it a lot, you'll notice he has different animations now. We have two full-time animators, excuse me, and they're going back through and redoing animations constantly. So this is a new idle animation they added for Spiker. They want to do kind of a twitchy style animation. And so this is kind of his twitchy animation, and he also has some new attacks. It's kind of hard to see them there, but he actually has some new attacks they're working on, and also some new running animations as well. So he's kind of getting a complete rework on all the animations set for him. And one of the things that we've done that you guys don't really see is we've actually made his skeleton, his frame, match the player frame, so we can actually reuse player animations on the mutants now if we want as well for more diversity. I'm just kind of glancing at Twitch chat. I think everybody's pretty much answering on the team, but yeah, VoIP we're probably going to hotfix. We actually have it fixed on one of the servers already, and we're just going to be moving that fix to the other server, so that should be fixed soon. So yeah, this is this Spiker. This will allow us to get some other mutants in the game as well that are kind of being worked on. So I need to bandage myself. There we go. All right, and then one of the other things we want to add to the game are prone animations, and these are very much a work in progress for the prone. So a big disclaimer that they're being worked on. This is a very initial pass, but we're definitely adding prone animations to the game. So you will be able to go prone, and move around while you're prone, all the typical stuff you'd expect, and fire weapons and everything. It's been a little bit of a challenge for us. the stock SDK from CryEngine no longer supports prone, and so we're going through it and trying to make it all work and make it work well. So part of it's working, part of it isn't working yet, but this is something the animators are definitely working on, is a whole prone animation set. So those will be coming in the game at some point as well. So you'll be able to fire from prone and move around and everything. All right. So those are the kind of two animations I want to talk about. Yeah, somebody's asking about climbing for ladders. Let me talk about that a little bit while I'm here with animations. We do support ladders in the game. Well, I should say the stock version kind of supports ladders in the game. It's a little bit non-functional, and that's something we're currently working on. Also, is the ladders. A lot of the animations are there. In fact, I think all the animations are there. It's more just from a technical aspect when you get on and off the ladders, making sure it works correctly and everything. So that's something will be coming in at some point. I don't have an ETA on the ladders, but it is something we're working on, our ladder animations as well. First person view? Okay. Yeah, you'll be able to use weapons when you're prone. There'll be some weapons that'll be locked out that you can't use if they're too big, which don't make sense using prone, but yeah, definitely. Yeah, somebody mentioned the name on the backpack. It says Katina. There you go, right there. We have little Easter eggs around once in a while. Alright, let me go over this table. So we have a new crafting recipe that's going to be going in. So I'm giving it away: wood, rags, and fuel. Anybody guess what we're making? So we have a torch that's coming into the game. Alright, so this is the torch. It'll be a handheld weapon. Give you a little bit of a look at it here. Eventually we'll add a way to light it, probably with an item like some type of a match or something, but right now we're just kind of cheating. You don't need anything. But the torch is definitely going to be coming in the next patch as well, for something to play with and add light. So there's the first person view of the torch. It does have sound effects and everything already. You can attack with it. You can also go prone and attack. All that works as well. Yeah, you can currently light anybody on fire with the torch. We'll probably add that at some point, but the torch will be coming in. And it works like the flashlight. If you drop it, it stays lit on the ground as well. We do need to do a lot of work on the torch as far as for the particle effect and the lighting it's emitting. A few things like that needs to be adjusted. But from a functional standpoint, it's there and it's working. So the torch is a weapon that'll be coming in the next patch, I assume. Oh yeah, this is a new model. I expected people saw that, but maybe not. I don't know if we released this or not, but this is a new model for the old backpack. Alright, so let me turn the torch off here. Like I mentioned, the torch is a craftable item as well. Let me see a couple of questions. How long does a torch last? Right now the torch lasts forever. I'll probably adjust that before the next release though. Can you throw the torch? Not currently. We are working on a full throwing system where you'll be able to throw pretty much any item in the game. That isn't in yet either, but it's also something that we're definitely working on. Prone with the gun, please. Those animations are still being worked on. I'll try here in a minute because I think they partially work, and I can see what it looks like. All right, next weapon. For the people that have been around a long time, we had a bow that was fully functional in the game. Oh, I don't know if it's 2 years ago, but it was close to 2 years ago that we had a bow that was working in the game. And so we're now just working on getting the bow put back into the game. And you know, the animations are still a work in progress, so you know, fully expect that this does not work correctly yet, but it's getting close. But this is definitely something we're working on. For example, you don't see the arrow right now. You know, so when I have arrows equipped, you don't see the arrow, so that's something we need to fix. But the arrows do stick. Like our old system, they'll stick in pretty much anything unless you hit something metal. If you hit like metal or concrete, it breaks the arrows already. But it does work. So you can actually see it move as the spiker there moves. So they'll stick in players, they'll stick in vehicles, they'll stick in doors. You know, anything that moves, they'll stick to it and move as well. So that's the bow. You know, like I said, we do need to work on some of the animations and so on with the bow. So you can see I can pick up the arrow after he's been shot as well. So the bow will be coming in sometime. We need to wrap up a few things with the bow. We need to get the animations wrapped up so you can see the arrow and a few things like that, kind of cleaning up the animations. So I'm not going to guarantee when the bow's coming in. I doubt it'll be the next patch, but it'll probably be, you know, soon. We don't want to release stuff until they're really ready. But you can see it's getting kind of close. Anyway. Like, for now, his feet don't even move. See that? Kind of. Anyway. So, yep, work in progress. Get rid of that weapon. Go on to the next weapon. This is a weapon that we had in 3.4 as well. Year and a half, 2 years ago. It's been around for a long time. So this is our sniper rifle. I'll show you what it kind of looks like in the game. So this is the sniper rifle we've had around for a long time. So you can aim down just with the iron sights if you want. And then you'll also notice there's a scope for it as well. And the scope, well, I don't have an icon for the scope. I apologize, but just pretend this is a scope. It's really there. So if you drag your scope in, then you see it appear on your weapon as well. So the scope is just another attachment you can drag on and off and swap on your weapon. And if you look at the bottom right, this is kind of a CryEngine feature, but you can actually see through the scope while you're moving in this frame, even in this kind of setting. Anyway. So that's the current zoom on it. So the animations need work, as you can see. We need to kind of clean up some of those animations. So this is the sniper rifle we'll be adding. What we were doing originally is we were waiting until the map got bigger to start adding some of these more advanced weapons. And you know, now the map is big enough. You can go all the way across the southern part of the map, and you can go about a third of the way up the map. So about a third of the map is currently playable. So now it makes sense to start bringing in these kind of longer range style weapons. Okay, let me look at a couple of questions in chat here before I go on. I'm not sure on the release on this sniper rifle. We'll have to kind of test it internally and just see where it's at, but it's really close, as you can see. There's a couple things I don't like with it that we'll probably talk about adjusting. So let's see, can you use the Crisis bow animation? No, we can't use any of the Crisis 3 animations. So the animations are our own that we're currently working on. Yeah, Marco answered that as well. Yeah, the sound effects for this are, you know, a year and a half old as well. So a lot of the stuff we'll update over time. We'll get stuff in and then kind of go back and, you know, do further passes to improve stuff. I'm out of ammo. All right. So the new weapons, as I mentioned, the torch, the bow, The sniper rifle, this is kind of all stuff we're currently working on as well. Yeah, like I said, there's a few things with the scope I'm not a fan of, and some of this is kind of stock CryEngine behavior. If you'll notice, the crosshair is always perfectly centered on the screen because they use, sorry, I keep saying that a lot. They use some sort of a custom shader for that, and so it's always perfectly centered and doesn't move. I don't know if we can adjust that or not. So it looks really odd that the crosshair is fixed and the scope itself is moving. So I think we'll look at changing the behavior because I personally am not a fan of the way it works currently. How do you create arrows? You'll be able to find different arrows in the game. This one, these are the typical aluminum arrows you would buy for a bow. It's kind of really hard to see them here. Let me get over here. You might be able to see it better on this guy. Yeah. Yeah, the animation is kind of messed up on the gun. And then we're also going to have the ability to craft arrows that won't be as good. So you'll be able to craft arrows and then find the good arrows both. Why can't we craft a bow? You'll be able to craft a bow. There's one that we've started on. I don't know when it'll be done. It wasn't ready enough to be shown off yet. But there will be a craftable bow as well. Yep, so that'll be coming in. Alright, and then one other thing that people have talked a lot about, and the stream today, I'm actually planning on not doing a very long stream today. So if you have questions, feel free to ask them. But one of the things I want to talk about is a little bit about base building. And if you guys have played, I assume most of you guys have played other games and are well aware of the griefing that happens in other games and all the problems with base building just in general in a multiplayer game. And so we've been working on some designs to kind of get away from that and work around some of those issues. And some of these we've had in the game for a long time. The other problem is we're trying to keep the number of objects down in the base building. Now, let me clarify what I mean by that. We're actually working on developing a system to where all the data for a base is highly optimized. So when a player joins the server, it doesn't have to send across hundreds or several hundred unique items for a base. It just kind of says here's the base data and it draws the base essentially, if that makes sense. So we're working on getting some systems in place to allow us to do a lot more of an optimal approach to bases. So I want to talk a little bit about the basics of a base though today. In our game we have the concept of a plot sign. Like I said, we came up, a lot of this stuff is about 2 years old, some of this design. And so let me kind of explain to you how this works. So the idea behind the plot sign is, in our game, you place a plot sign, and you can see this green saying I can place it there right now. But we're going to have exclusion areas in the game for now where you cannot build a base at. For example, you won't be able to build your base too close to another player's base, and you won't be able to build a base in certain areas of the map either. So you won't be able to grief players is the whole point. And on this level, what I've done is I've added an exclusion area kind of along this row of trees. So as I approach the row of trees, you'll see it go red. And that's because we have an exclusion area around that whole area of the map right here in front of me, saying that you cannot build a base there. So this is one of the features we're going to be doing, is adding areas where they're non-buildable areas. So anytime it's green, you can place it. Anytime it goes red, you can't, is the idea. So for example, here I can place it here anywhere I want. And then I have another exclusion area down here by these ramps. So once I get down here, you'll notice that it also goes red because I put another exclusion around all the ramps. So on the base, what we'll do is go in and not allow people, and we might tweak this later, so I'm not saying it will never happen, but for now, you won't be able to build your base around any cities. You won't be able to build a base, around a house or anything like that. And it's sort of a structure, because those will all be excluded for now. Now down the road, someday, We may add the ability to be able to board up windows or something like that, and if that's the case, we'll make exceptions for that. But to start off with, you have to kind of go out away from a city to start building your base. So let me look at chat here really fast and see if I missed any questions. I'll show you how this plot sign works here in a second. It's pretty simple. How far is the base building away from being included? Like I mentioned, we need to work on the data optimization for a base. The basics of the base building in our game have been working for 1.5 years, 2 years almost. It's been more of just getting to the right time of adding the base building, and then we have to change the way we're transferring the parts of the base. And so that's what we're working on now, is more of the back-end kind of code support on optimizing the base building. But like this is the first step right here, is being able to place your plot sign. There's my plot sign. And this is temporary, the backpack, but so essentially, if you've watched some of our old videos and you see there's some bugs here where it came back, but essentially you just select an item, say place, and then you can rotate it around. I said it got bugged, but you can rotate the item around where there's a ramp or a wall or anything. You can rotate it around, and then when you're done, you just left click and place it. And like I said, now I'm bugged, but anyway, but that's still being worked on. Oculus Rift support, somebody probably answered you, but that's dependent on getting support for it officially in CryEngine. We will definitely add it as soon as they support it, and we don't know if or when they will support it for sure. Let's see, I'm just glancing through chat. This is all I had to show. It's just kind of up to this phase. So if you have any questions about anything I've shown today, or even about base building in general, feel free to ask. Let's see, I'm just seeing if I missed any messages here. Will you be able to type on your message sign? That isn't planned. Maybe at some point, but as you know, a lot of people who play these games make very racist comments, and unless we add a ton of exclusions for words, it'll just probably end up being a mess if you let people type in their own messages. Some people will use it appropriately and have a lot of fun with it, and other people will just use it completely inappropriately. So I don't know if we will add that ever, but we'll see. All right, I'm just glancing through messages here and see. How large do you intend to allow bases to be? We were actually discussing the size of bases in chat a couple of days ago, and right now, I don't know if I can do this and not have a bug. There we go. Okay, so like I said, where you rotate it, left click to place it, and then you can pack it up and dismantle stuff as well. If you're placing an item, and let me show you. If you're placing an item and you right click, then it cancels the placement. I just right click there. Anyway, so the currently way it's designed, I'll tell you the way it's currently designed, and it might change, and I'll tell you why. Right now, the way it's currently designed is from your plot sign, you can build up 15 meters, which is pretty high, and you can go out to a 30-meter radius. So you can go, probably this big on the radius. So from probably here to the trees on your base, and then 15 meters high roughly. The issue we have is we have to be careful on the number of base building parts, like the walls. For example, if you have a 30-meter radius plot, then if all the walls are 2 meters, which is our biggest wall section right now, then just to place a circle of walls one level around that radius, you're currently looking at about 95 wall pieces just to put a circle of walls around for that radius. So what happens is, even at 30 meters, you're starting to have to use a lot of base building parts at 30 meters. For example, if you take that up to 50 meters, then all of a sudden you're at about 160 walls you have to place just to go around the outside edge of the buildable area of your base. So right now, as I mentioned, from your plot sign, it's basically a cylinder. there's a radius that goes out from the plot sign and then it goes up, and so you have a radius. Now, when I was thinking about this the other night, what I might do instead is make it a square. The problem with if you use a circle and then we want to have the ability to have players be able to merge their bases together. If you do that, then you end up with kind of a Venn diagram look. And I don't know how many of you know what a Venn is, a Venn diagram. Let me bring up an image and I'll show you what I mean really fast. So ignore that. So let me show you what I mean by this. Give me a minute. Okay, so this is kind of a good example of a Venn diagram. Little math lesson for the day, I apologize. So let's say this is where I place my base. This is where my I plot sign. My friend placed his plot sign here. What happens if you do circles, which is what we currently have, all this area in the middle is overlapping, and so basically it's wasted space because it's basically being able to be built on twice. And if you have three friends trying to build, add your bases together with circles, then you kind of the same problem where all this intersecting area in the middle it's kind of waste because it's being used multiple times. So because of that, what I got thinking last night is I'll probably go with a square instead. I think what would make the most sense. So instead of doing a radius from this, what I'll probably do is have it to where it goes out and it's basically a square, and then it goes up vertically. And then when you have a friend that comes along, he can place his as close as possible to it, and the squares make it so you can actually add on to bases a lot better, I think. So anyway, a lot of this we'll kind of talk about in the future, but we're currently working on the base building system. Yes, I'm not. We don't know when it's going to be in, but it's definitely being worked on. Recap for new viewers. Yeah, I can definitely do that. As I mentioned, this is all I had to show. So if you have questions, go ahead and throw them in chat. Any realistic player movement so you won't be able to run and gun and have the feel that you are surviving, not just kill people. I'm not sure what you mean. One of the things we have done is like if you're sprinting, you can't really shoot. You have to stop and shoot. The animations aren't quite there all the way. There is a breath mechanic in the game. This is kind of a bad weapon to demo it on, but if I hold down the left shift key, he goes into his hold breath mode and it steadies your aim. And we'll tie that into the stamina system to where if you're running a lot, then you'll have a shaky aim for a while, type of stuff. All right, so anyway, like I said, this is all I had to show. So I'm going to go ahead and do a quick recap. So if anybody else has any questions, feel free to throw those out in chat. So the quick recap is the new vehicles we're working on adding is the boat and the tractor. The boat is very close to being added. And I think this is going to bug the animations, so ignore the rifle. Nope, I'm surprised. I tried this earlier and the gun was kind of in a weird pose. Excuse me. So this is the boat that's going in. It's the driver and 3 passengers for the boat. And this will be in the next patch. I'll just drive around here for a second so you can see it. It does the wakes on the water, the little ripples. And if we get fancy down the line, we'll actually animate the propeller and stuff. Right now it's kind of hard to see, but the propeller doesn't actually move. So we'll probably do that at some point. Need to turn it off. There we go. The tractor we're adding, it isn't drivable yet, but that's being worked on, so that'll be coming in the game at a later date. I'm not sure when, but whenever it's ready. As I mentioned, Carl is working on updating all the textures on that. Next patch we're planning on next week sometime. We don't have a date yet. It just kind of depends on when a lot of this stuff gets wrapped up. New spiker animations. And I don't have it set up so what you can see is rain animation, but he has new movement animations as well. The torch is a craftable item. I'll craft another one so you can see it. Wood, rags, and oil. Create a torch. And then you can light the torch. It has sound effects as well. And when you swing, it makes kind of a whoosh sound. So that's the torch. Right now you can't light people on fire with it or items. We do plan on adding that at a later date though, where you can actually light things on fire. And then the bow was over here on the ground somewhere. Yep, see? In progress. So here's the bow. And the animation, you can't actually see the arrows yet when I'm shooting. But you can actually see them in, the arrows stick in everything. You know, they'll stick in, you know, kind of whatever you want to shoot at. So you can see they're in the table and so on. If you hit concrete or anything that's really heavy, concrete, metal, it'll actually break the arrow so you can't pick it up again and reuse it. And I can't actually pick up the rifle again to shoot it, but because it's bugged. But anyway, so that's kind of where we're at. A lot of this stuff, some of this will be coming in next patch, some will be coming in probably the following patch. And the base building is definitely an ongoing feature. But I just want to let people know we are working on it still. It's kind of being worked on in between of everything else. And as soon as we get it to the point where we can start testing it, we'll probably throw it up on an experimental server and let people start playing with it. Is there a headshot multiplier for spikers? There is. I'm not sure what it's set to though. And I know like the arrow isn't set. You have to do it per ammunition type. And the arrow isn't configured. So right now the arrow probably doesn't do any multiplier at all to the head. Yeah. So that's why I didn't one-shot him. Those will need to be tweaked still as well. Yeah, that's quite not true, Chris. We have to program it. But yeah, it will have multipliers for everything. We're just still configuring stuff, but yes, it will. Flaming arrows would be fun. You know, something in the future. We definitely would have fun doing that. Let's see. Boats on the rivers. Yeah, we think the boats will be a lot of fun. We do it. You know, it is based on islands, so we'll be able to go off, and we'll probably put some stuff out, little islands and stuff. You can go visit on the boats as well to give people a reason to use them more. See, Miscreated, how many people can play on a server? Right now it's limited to 32 players on a server. And what we're doing now is we got to 32 players, which is kind of the lowest we want to support. And now what we're doing is starting to add all these other features in, like base building. And obviously we add the vehicles in a recent patch as well. So we're starting to add all these other features into the game now. And then once the features are in we want, then at that point we'll go back and see if we can increase the player population more. But right now, 32 is pretty fun, and you know we just want to get more features in now before we start trying to get more players in. We're trying to keep the servers stable, obviously, as we grow and expand the game. Am I going to drive a car off one of those ramps? I'll do it in a minute if you want to see me drive off the ramp. That's actually why I put them in there. Is like I said, this is our test level, so we test a lot with those. Yeah, it's just fun. Yeah, on the weapon mechanics, the gunplay in the game, we want to eventually get to the point where it's more realistic without getting clunky. I presume a lot of you people play DayZ, and even though it's realistic, but it's also clunky, and it's kind of infuriating at times. And I'm saying that just as a player, not as a competitor of theirs. I played the crap out of DayZ a lot, and so we want to make it realistic, but also not have it be clunky in the same sense. We definitely don't want it to be an arcade style shooter. So we're trying to steer away from that, and that's why we have magazines, and you know that's why we have magazines and slots and stuff like that. Is kind of give it a little bit more of a realistic feel. Somebody earlier mentioned a reload mechanic. There is a reload system that we have planned, and I've mentioned a few streams that we haven't. It's not in yet, but we'll add that at some point. But it won't be a full reload, and that's all I'm going to say. It'll be dependent on some factors. All right, I'm gonna go jump off the ramps, and then I'll quit the stream, just for fun here for you guys. Let me do it on the ATV. Ignore the bow on the back. Hasn't been adjusted. So we actually do this a lot just for fun. Oops, if I can drive. There you go. In fact, I'll show you a couple other little fun facts with the vehicles. Let me go get a truck and I'll show you. And some of these will be kind of hard to see, but let me grab a truck. This is probably going to look really funny because I'm probably going to clip the bow through. Get the back one. Let me go down here. Just give me a second here. I'll go jump the truck first. Then I'll show you something else. Anyway, so that's just jumping. Nothing too exciting. The one thing I do want to show you, though, is... I'm trying to remember. And this might be kind of hard to see on a stream. I'm not sure if you'll even be able to see it. Yeah, you're not going to be able to see it. I apologize. But if you're playing in a game one of these days, watch when a player drives through vegetation. And there's actually wind that gets emitted from the vehicles. And so as they drive through something, if you look at the vegetation behind them, kind of the side of the truck behind them, you'll actually see it blowing the vegetation away as they drive through based on the speed as well. There's a few little things like that in the game that people don't really realize. Drive over a spiker. Alright. There's one over here, I think. Yeah, I picked up Spiker. How's that? Normally he goes flying, but anyway. Yeah, so there's Spiker. Alright. That's all I have for today. I appreciate everybody coming in and joining us. And we'll be releasing patch next week is the plan with some of these features in the game. And then some of those will actually be on the following releases, the following patches as we get stuff in. But these are currently the main things we're focusing on, trying to get into the game soon. And we'll probably be doing these little feature reveals, every couple of months or something as they make sense, to give people kind of a heads up on what we're working on and a little bit of an overview. So let me do one last check from messages and see if there's anything I missed. See, somebody else. I think that was the same question before about the release date for the patch. Next week is the plan. I'm not sure quite the date yet, but it should be next week to get some of this stuff in. All right, thanks for your time, guys. I appreciate it. Make sure you do follow us on our social media sites because we do spread a lot of information there. Twitter's the one I primarily use. If you have other questions, definitely post on the forums, and the Steam discussion forums get monitored heavily as well. So those are two good sites just to register and sign up and post information or questions you may have. We try to be pretty active on especially Steam because it's such a large population of people there, and definitely ask questions there if you want. Thank you for your time, guys. Have a good day.